I don't think chaos starts at the bottom. I think it starts at the top. In today's society where we're always looking for somebody to blame, no wonder why the first people that we encounter are the people that we drop the blames on, right? I am an advocate for good customer service. I believe strongly that if I'm spending my money with an establishment, I should get top tier treatment. But what happens behind those top tier treatments is the leadership crisis. I often thought that, and this may sound very controversial, right? I often thought that if somebody was working in an institution or anywhere particularly, and they just had a very negative attitude towards work or towards a customer or anything, they are just a negative person. I've thought that I take full responsibility for it. After going through different employments, though seasons, though, I'm quite frankly coming to the conclusion that maybe some of those people could be negative, but maybe some of those people are not being negative because that's all they have to give. Maybe they're being negative because of everything that's happening behind the scenes. This is not to say that they're not responsible for how they conduct themselves, but there's a lot going on behind that scenes that is potentially creating that reaction. And again, as I said, I don't think I should be spending my money anywhere and not get good service. I've talked about a customer service experience that I had in a Jamaica pizza place recently, a couple months ago. Well, quite over a couple months ago, but actually at the end of last year. And I was so excited to get the pizza. And my little sister was the one who introduced me to the place, and she was excited. So that made me even more excited because I wanted us to enjoy the meal. And when I walked in, the way I was greeted, I was not hungry anymore. And I was kind of disappointed that I had to disappoint my sister, but I was like, I'm not spending my money here. I worked way too hard for my money to be disrespected and still spend it. I'm not spending it. And it wasn't like they said anything to me disrespectful, but it's just what they didn't say and how the body language was and how they dealt with me. And I just didn't like it. Period. And I left away feeling very discouraged because I thought this is my home. And why is somebody from my home treating me this way? And when foreigners come into the country, they are getting top tier treatment. And I've been to many other places too, and I have similar experiences, but some were not as bad, and then some weren't really explicit, but there were other things that I just didn't like. But I've also went into a place where the customer service was amazing. The product wasn't that great, but the customer service was amazing, so I wanted to spend, and it didn't feel like I was losing, right? But as I just go back to my own employee experiences and just how in some of the roles that I've occupied, I have probably behaved like a bitter Betty sometimes. And it's not even because I didn't want to give top tier customer service. It's because, as I said earlier, the behind the scenes. So when things are happening like this, who do we blame? First of all, we blame the customers, right? No. Okay. We blame the employees. I'll speak about the customers soon, but we blame the employees because those are the people that we're seeing. Those are the ones that are facing us. Those are the people that we're having interactions with. And in many instances, the employees are very limited in what they can do because at the end of the day, they're reporting to somebody. And if that person who they're reporting to does not have integrity, does not have great leadership skills, is trying to please everybody and be nice and isn't enforcing any boundary, all of that gets transferred to the employee. Everybody who's had a job would have probably experienced this in some capacity. The most reliable person absorbs most of the cost. And it's a sad thing and a sad place to be in, but a lot of times that's a transfer cost. It doesn't go away because the leadership does not take accountability. It doesn't go away because they don't set standards, they don't create systems, they don't have boundaries in place. It transfers. Somebody has to absorb the cost. And this can go on into many different categories. We blame the children, right? But you don't see the lack of leadership and accountability in the home, because leadership is not just an employee employer band. It's everywhere, right? Leadership in the home is one of the most crucial things to produce capable children. And we see the children acting out. And it's not to say that every time a child is acting out is because of the parents, but there are a lot of responsibilities that a lot of children have to carry in the homes, especially as an eldest child or a only child, and you have to carry so much invisible weight that people don't really notice you're carrying because it's been carried, right? We blame the students. And I'm not saying that teachers are fully responsible for students, because I had an experience where I was tutoring for a couple months, and that experience taught me I probably would not be a great, well, let me not say that. I would be a great teacher, but I probably would not be a great fit for a long time teaching, because I would be great at it, if I'm being honest. But it's a lot of responsibility and it's a lot to manage. Producing the work and giving them assignments to do and marking the papers it's one thing, but you're managing a lot of students with a lot of emotional labor. You have to manage a lot of personalities. It's a heavy job, and we don't talk enough about that aspect of the things, right? There are lots of teachers who I've just commended from just the way they've showed up, because it's not an easy job. And I only had like 3 students. Imagine a class of 30. Shout out to you, teachers. But we blame the students if they don't get the grades. And some of them are trying, but we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And okay, the blame could go on forever. We blame customers. I don't think customers are even blamed, because we're in a very customer is always right era. I don't believe that, and I don't think I'll ever believe it. I've said this many times. If a customer is actually right, I I believe in them being treated fairly. I believe in them getting their money's worth. I believe in them getting top tier customer service, as I said before, because that's exactly what I would want as a customer. And so I try to give that as my base for how I interact with a customer if I'm in any establishment, right? But then again, of course, as I said, sometimes it's limited based on the integrity and accountability of the leadership. But if a customer is not right, I don't believe they should be given the privilege of being right. I don't believe in it. If they're right, yes, they're right. If they're not right, they are not right. I don't think we should just accept customer being right just because you need money. And of course, money is important, but it's also like the way you get it is the way you lose it. And this applies to everything. Why is it that there cannot be any boundary enforced? Why is it that you cannot set rules for your business place and your customers also follow those rules? Why is it a one sided situation where your employees have all the rules to follow, but the customers have none? I think that's a recipe for disaster, and that is a recipe for a very high employee turnover rate, because the root of the problem needs to be addressed. I am not sure that in an establishment where the employees also feel that they are fairly treated, that they are just going to leave a good company just because. No, the fairness needs to be both ways. The employees need to be treated fairly as well as the customers. So, of course, if the employee is wrong, then they are wrong. And if they are right, they are right. I don't know why there is just this one sided thing. Customer is always right, employees get neglected. But let me not come off topic. But I feel strongly about this because it's just it's very common and I don't hear people talking about it. Of course we all need a job and we all need that security, and a lot of people don't want to voice their concerns because they want to limit their opportunities. But it's also like, as I mentioned in my previous videos, there aren't inherently good or bad opportunities. It's just good or bad fit for you. If you don't believe that the customer is always right, and then don't voice your concerns, you don't say anything about it just because you want to get a job, and then you get a job with an employer who believes the customer is always right, you're going to have a miserable time. Because what about when they aren't actually right and you are the one who have to absorb that cost? Because best believe you're going to absorb the cost. At some point during the stage of employment, you are going to absorb the cost. Why would you want to absorb the cost for something that you don't believe in? Might as well absorb the cost for something you believe in. So might as well be vocal about what you do believe in so that you can weed out the things that you don't believe in from even coming to your door. But as I was saying, we blame everybody else except where the problem really starts. Because it doesn't start at the bottom with everybody that we're seeing, it starts at the top where we don't see. It starts with all of the things that are overlooked and people just push them on the rug and under the rug and say it's okay when it's really not okay. And when you are the one who sees something wrong with it, it plays like a black sheep thing on you to think, oh, nobody else actually has a problem with this. And you are the one who has a problem. But I think that there has to be a level of accountability that is held within the leadership space, but it benefits leadership to not be held accountable because they get to have their cake and eat it too. And this is why I talk about having options for yourself as a person. It's not because you having options you will never work. Of course, we all have to work. That's how we eat, right? But when you have options for yourself, you can say no to more things. You don't feel like you have to say yes to everything. You don't have to say yes to every opportunity. You can weed through the grass and see what's aligned and leave what is not. It's basically um, sift the wheat. You can sift the wheat, right? And a lot of people are just not able to do this because I think they don't think they deserve it, one. And two, they're just so afraid of letting go of the only safety net that we were taught to hold on to. You know, we're always taught to be considerate, we're always taught to be not a burden, easy going, easy to work with, easy to be around. And what happens when you are counter with people who are doing the exact opposite, who don't care if they're a burden, who are not considerate, who take advantage of your good deeds? And it's not to say that you're going to just be a bad person just because you're encountering people who are not considerate, but it's to say that you have your choices. And when you give yourself options, you are able to make choices and refuse choices just because you don't want to go against your moral compass. And so this conversation I think is important to have, and that's why I'm starting it. And I hope more people will be talking about these things because at the end of the day, there is no point in us not voicing our concerns while we are all suffering the same sorrow. Like, yes, some people, I'm going to stay out of it, but you're not helping to solve the problem. You're complaining in silence while suffering. And it's not to say that you being vocal about something means it's going to change, but then it becomes aware. It becomes a it becomes more people will become aware of what's happening. They can probably put word to their sorrows. More people may join into the conversation, and who knows? Closed mouths don't get fed. And at the end of the day, yes, when you are very vocal, sometimes it can be used against you. And I've said this in my previous video. This is not me saying to be disrespectful in your approach and to just say things out of pocket. But this is to say, let's start having conversations that can actually change the way that things are being done in our society. And this starts with the leadership. Leadership is everywhere. It's not just to unemployment, it's families, it's the country, it's everywhere is being run. And all of that is considered leadership. And leadership starts with us, it starts with ourselves. And so, even though we cannot control every external leader and any rooms that we are part of that are being led inappropriately, the only thing we really can control is the leadership of ourselves. And a part of that leadership for ourselves is to give yourself options. So, if me having these conversations is helping you to see that you really need to set yourself up for success because nobody else is going to do it. And frankly, nobody else cares about your well being like you do. This is the time for you to kind of bottle down and take yourself seriously. I'll be hosting a workshop on the 18th of July at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I keep saying Eastern Central Time, but it's Eastern Standard Time. And in this workshop, we're going to be talking about options and helping you to create at least one action step to take at the end of that workshop. So if this is something that you know you need to take seriously for yourself, this is a place that you can start. It's completely free. I'm going to be having the links out in a few weeks, in a few days to a week or so. I'll have that ready definitely before the 18th. So you guys can come and let's have these conversations and figure out a way to create options for ourselves because nobody else is going to do it. And I'll also have the one on one sessions available too for those who want more personalized assistance. And if you never take any of those resources, whether the free or the paid ones, I still want you to know that your voice matters and don't allow anybody to just use money as a power over you to make you feel like you have to tolerate any nonsense just because you need a job. And I know that we have real responsibilities and we have real things that we have to take care of. So we cannot just get up and leave every single time. And this is not me saying getting up and leave. It's me saying creating options for yourself so that if does get to that point where it's wearing you down and you do have to make a move, that you're not flat on your face when you do it, right? Because I've experienced that before and I know it's not a pretty place to be in and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And so this is why I'm having these conversations so that we can better prepare ourselves to be able to take better care of ourselves. Because we often think that the soft life is going to just appear, but the soft life is a life that you get when you work really, really hard to be able to create that for yourself. And so this is the start of it. Let's just figure out what's the next best step to start and just take action on that. And I hope this conversation finds you well. If anything that I just said resonated with you, give me a like and also share this video with anybody who this resonates with. Anybody in your close circle, anybody that you know and at all. Let's just keep the conversations going. And comment below and tell me your take. I'd love to hear whether you agree or disagree. Keep it respectful, but I'd still love to hear your feedback in the comments below. And also, if you have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'd love to have you around. And follow me on all social media platforms at Khrista-Lee Amore. That's Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And I will see you in the next video tomorrow. And guys, before I go, so I said that I had reached 100 videos 2 days ago, and I am not yet at 100 videos. Of course, I've uploaded 100 videos already, but I thought I'd arrived at my 100 long form videos from my daily posting, but I'm not yet at 100. So I take that back. But we're still going to keep the workshop on July 18, and we'll just continue and ride out the daily posting until I hit the actual 119. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. All right, let's go make some mistakes. Bye.